We are now coming to one of the very interesting but most misunderstood pieces in the scripture as far as I'm concerned. And the reason why I asked Vince to speak about it is a few weeks ago, he spoke about it in our Shabbat meeting. And I cannot believe after serving the Lord for 47 years, I had so little understanding about what really happened. So I'm going to ask every one of you who listen to our messages to please go to chapter 15 in the book of Genesis and to go and read it. Maybe you should stop the video right now and go and read it first and then come and listen to the rest, because there's something there that happened that I never saw. And I've asked Vince to unpack it for us. And there's no time restriction because I need more. So I can take it.
This is an interesting one. So basically, when we're dealing with the covenant of Abraham, and I think probably what we're missing here is that we don't fully understand covenant and everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, so God deals with certain promises with Abraham. We look at it, we see it from Genesis 12 all the way through to 17, and 15 becomes one of these pivotal little spots. And in this time, in the beginning of chapter 15, Abraham keeps on asking, he says, what's the point of giving me this stuff if, Eliezer is gonna inherit everything? And God says, no, this is what's going to happen. And he gives them a layout of, the descendants are going to be locked away, or they're going to be in servitude for 400 years until the wickedness of the Amorites come to pass, and so on. And then he gets to this point where he tells him to go get these different types of animals. And that section I'd like to read. Okay.
Verse?
He said, from verse 9.
Chapter 15, verse 9.
He says, he answered, bring me a 3-year-old cow, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, dove, and a young pigeon. He brought him all these, cut the animals in two, and placed the pieces opposite each other. But he didn't cut the birds in half. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Avram drove them away. Okay, so what we understand about this process of us going into covenant. Now, covenant perhaps is something, again, we don't fully grasp. And what happens is that if you and I have an agreement, and we say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to do A, B, and C, and if there is a break in that covenant, then what we don't always understand is we just think the covenant is broken. You didn't hold up your end, but that's it, I'm walking out of the deal. We treat it more like a contract. But the reality is covenant is one of those things where it's very much relational. So when we go into covenant, if one of us break the terms, there's an atonement or a penalty that has to be placed so that we can come back into covenant. Okay? So it's like it would probably be better, instead of looking at it as a contract scenario, it's more like a marriage scenario. Okay? We're going to come in, I promise to love you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to promise to do X, Y, and Z. If one of us do drop the ball at one point, then what do? Do we just go, we tear up the wedding certificate and we go, it was fun, but you didn't honor me in that moment. Therefore, I'm walking away. That's not the way Father issues with his covenant. He goes, listen, we need to repair the relationship. Okay, so how then do we do that? And this is what we fail to see here. So what we understood in antiquity is that when we look at the way they entered into this covenant, apparently they would take these animals and they would cut them from tail to snout. Okay? Look for a piece of land that has a little slope on the one side and a little slope on the other, and we would take the animals and put them on either side so that the blood would pool in the middle. Then I would make promises and you would make promises, and then I would walk through the blood and then you would walk through the blood. And we would basically be saying, if any one of us break this covenant, you can make us like these animals.
Okay, sorry. Mm-hmm. So we've got these dead animals lying there with actually a flow of blood in between.
Right.
And then if it's the two of us, I walk with my feet, I walk through the blood.
That's it.
And you follow me.
Mm-hmm.
And what we say to one another, if you break the covenant, you're going to look like these animals.
Mm-hmm.
And if I break the covenant, I'm going to look like these animals.
Right.
So that's That's really what the covenant says.
In this case, with this covenant, yes. We
Okay.
have so many different pictures of this. I mean, like the book of Deuteronomy is structured in a way an ancient covenant was written. Okay, but it doesn't talk about the blood that you walk through the animals. It talks about these are the stipulations. This is who I am. This is who you are. This is what happens if we do good. This is what happens if we do bad. But the whole point is relationship. We're entering into this because it's mutually beneficial. It's between you and me. We both desperately want to do this, right? And Abraham is going, how will I know? How will I know? How will I know? And he says to him, go get some animals, cut them in two, and let's talk.
Mm. Mm.
Yes.
Okay, slightly different picture than what we've had. Piece of paper with 2 signatures.
Right.
Okay.
This one seems to get a little serious. So, which helps us understand the verses thereafter. Verse 11, it says, birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Avram drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell on Avram. Horror and great darkness came over him. Your translation might say great dread.
Mm.
Right.
He's great darkness.
Okay, he starts to get nervous. Now you understand why.
Yes, he knew what he was going to say.
A perfect God who is eternal, who will uphold every single promise, and I'm standing there on me and behalf of all of my descendants. If I keep it and they don't,
Scared.
right? What happens if my son keeps it and then my grandchildren don't? Am I willing to walk through this blood? Right? And this is why I think this nervousness or this panic really set in on Abraham. But look at what happens, right? It says, Adonai said to Abraham, know this for certain, your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression for 400 years. This is a future foretelling of the Passover story. I will also judge the nation, the one that makes them slaves. Afterwards, they will leave with many possessions. As for you, you will join your ancestors in peace and be buried in an old age.